Welcome to episode 2 of the EV Boomer. I'm your host Rick, based outside Atlanta, Georgia. Being episode 2 is a funny place. We haven't got any traction, we don't have many listeners, and we're just trying to get a feel for doing the podcast and getting a regular routine. What was interesting is, though, I didn't expect it, but I did get one email last week from John in Wisconsin who found the podcast, said, "Great podcast. Thank you very much for doing this. Different take." That's all it said, really. So, John, not sure what you mean by different take. Maybe being a boomer, I don't know. But we'll wait and see. One thing this podcast won't be doing, and even if I end up doing a YouTube channel on the back of this or something, you won't catch me doing a 70-mile range test some of the YouTubers have done, where they'll literally fill the car up to 100% and drive 70 miles an hour until it dies. The primary reason for that is, well, maybe it's my age thing. I just like to go and pee after a couple of hours, coffee or water or whatever, but don't want to starve myself or deprive myself of some water or soda or something like that. And nor do I intend to wear adult diapers or nappies. Nope. Not going to do that either. So no 70 mile an hour range test. It's great to know what the cars can do, though. I'll give you that. My Ioniq, I think, can achieve about 260, 270 at a constant 70. Also depends on the hills, whether you're going up or you're going down. So last weekend was a long holiday weekend here in the United States, Labor Day. And so on Sunday, beautiful day in Northwest Georgia, I decided to take Sparky, such an original name, but Sparky all the same, for a bit of a drive. I quite enjoy it. You've got a car that drives well, wonderful acceleration, and such a beautiful day. So I plotted out a trip, and it was basically going through the mountains of northwest Georgia into Alabama, up through Alabama, through Georgia again, funnily enough, in the very northwest corner, into Tennessee, around Tennessee, and then back down again. And it was beautiful, going through some small towns and villages I've never been before. Got to go back to some of them, like Somerville, and then towards the Alabama state line. And also you hug the kind of hillside for a while, looking down into a giant valley, which was stunningly beautiful with the sun, near DeSoto National Park. So I've got to go back there. Pulled into an EVgo charging station on I-59, I think it was. Brand new station, hasn't been open long. Nobody was charging there. Pulled in. By the time I came back from doing what you need to do in a gas station, bought myself a drink, car was already charged. Not bad, up to 80%. These fast chargers hit about 230 kilowatts, carried on the drive. And this is the funny thing. On my way back down I-75, back to home, there's a Buc-ee's. Now, most of you will know what a Buc-ee's gas station is, but if you don't, it's probably, well, I'm thinking the biggest gas stations in the world. They are phenomenal. They started in Texas and have spread out. We have 3 in Georgia. I think a 4th one's getting built. Kids love them. They are phenomenal. They have, I'm going to guess, maybe 100 plus pumps, and some of them for gas. They always seem to these days have Tesla superchargers and Mercedes-Benz chargers with CCS adapters. So there's, they've really got it right for both electric vehicles and obviously the ICE cars, the gas cars. It is always crowded, packed. And it took me, coming off the interstate, probably around close to 8 to 10 minutes to actually get off the interstate, go the short distance to Buc-ee's entrance, and then park by a charger. When inside, now if I've got the kids with me, I don't get it in and out for less than $50. You just don't. Phenomenal range of food, candy, sweets, sodas, drinks, and they have an incredible range of other stuff. Buc-ee's t-shirts, it has become a phenomenon. I actually managed to get out this time without spending anything. I wasn't super hungry for a large brisket sandwich or anything like that. Just didn't feel the urge. So I managed to get in and out. But by the time I walked back to my car, not only had it finished charging, it had also close to about a minute left of idle time. And that's, if you don't know that, that's where, it charges up. And once you finish, most charging companies will give you 10 minutes free idle time for you to unplug and leave the charging spot. Well, I was close. I think I had probably about 2 minutes left when I was going to get charged. And some of them are 50 cents a minute or whatever. So it can soon stack up your idle time because, of course, it takes a good time to walk into the store and it's humongous. Go around restrooms if you're going to buy something, then come out and back to your car. Second time I've charged at Buc-ee's and second time I've come close to paying idle fees. I think the moral of the story is just charge the car, then park it, and then go inside the store, and then you've got no worries, or you've got the freedom to do what you want to do. So it was a great drive. I was gone for about 5 hours. Beautiful scenery, stunning day. A little bit of rain over in Alabama, but nothing major. It was like squalls. Hit me for a few minutes, and then the clouds disappeared and the sun came out. So stunningly gorgeous day. Traffic wasn't too bad at all on I-59, I-75, and then the drive-through on the smaller roads, the 2-lane highways through sort of into Alabama over the state line was good. My phone didn't know whether it was coming or going because it would switch from Eastern time to Central time. And then as we got close back to the Georgia border, it would flip-flop back and forth as I guess I was jumping cell towers. That's always a little bit of fun. So that was the weekend. So now we're talking about charging. And the funny thing is, and I think I mentioned this last week, if you are thinking about an electric vehicle, I think it makes sense if you can charge at home. If you can't, it might not be that much of a good proposition for you because gas right now is particularly cheap over here. I think I've seen between $2.59 and $2.99 a US gallon, whereas electric prices vary from I've seen as low as like 35 cents a kilowatt hour up to about 64 cents a kilowatt hour. And maybe another episode we'll take a look at the varying charges. It is widespread. And charging has got a lot better in the last year, which is a great place to be. So I think a lot of them are more reliable. You might have paid more for more reliability, but I'm not so sure these days. But either way, I think if you can charge at home, and I can, and 95% of my charging is at home, I've got a very good overnight tariff. It's basically free overnight. They get you one way or the other, I'm sure. But it's still what it is. So talking about this, and there was a colleague at work talking about it, and he was adamant he was going to put in a DC fast charger. I'm like, well, this is going to be interesting because A, I don't think you are. B, even if you can, it's going to be ridiculously expensive to get the transformers in and then a supply from your local electric company because you're not going to work too much with your current 220 unless you've got, there are some chargers out there that use batteries for storage and then can deliver to you. But either way, still not a cheap option. And the other thought was, I can imagine him going in, plugging in his car, thinking he's going to charge, and half the neighborhood sort of goes zzzt, and all the lights go out. So we managed to sort of persuade him that you really want a level 2 or a level 1 charger. And it made me think, well, what are the options? So in the US, a level 1 basically is the smallest and slowest form of charging. It's 110 volts, basically. You plug it into just a normal wall socket. And it gives you, depending on what you pick, between, 3 and 5 miles an hour. Now, the average distance a driver drives in the US is about 20 miles a day. Obviously excluding road trips and that kind of stuff, but just 20 miles. So that might just work because you can probably charge the car in 4 hours, 4 to 5 hours. Not a big deal. But there's a lot of us, like I do, a 70-mile round trip to and from work. So I opted for the level 2 charger, which is basically taking the house supply, taking both rails and giving you 240 volts. And I have mine set to 32 amps. So I get about 30 miles-ish an hour when it's charging. I could go higher, but I'm comfortable at 32. It kicks off through the night. Don't want to stress anything. And so, I go to work, come back, plug it in, and then overnight it will charge. And in the morning, I'm back up to 80%. And it's usually about a 2-hour 15 charging window. Works very well for me. Very happy with it. It's all set. The charger's set to kick in at midnight. I go off at 6 a.m. As I say, I usually get a text message on the phone saying your charging is complete. all done and dusted. So there's your basic options. A lot of cars, when you buy them, will come with a 110 volt charger or a level 1 charger. Some of them will actually come with a level 2 and then a selection of plugs that you can plug into, like a NEMA 1450 you may have in the garage or nearby, particularly if it was set up for welding or stuff like that. Or sometimes, I forget the number of the plug, but one that you can plug your dryer into, your tumble dryer, unplug that and plug it in. So the thing to remember here, though, is most household devices are what they call cycle. The power cycles in and out, as stoves heat up or as tumble dryers work. It's not constantly pulling the 30 amps or whatever. It takes it, heats it up, does its thing. Whereas an electric charger, from the moment you hit go to the moment you stop charging, it is constant. If you set to 32 amps, it will deliver that 32 amps constantly. And it could, theoretically, if I needed to charge that car from 10% to 100% or 90%, it could go on for 10 hours plus. So that is a lot of juice constantly, which is why you've got to have everything rated. A lot of these 1450 NEMA adapters or sockets are fairly cheap and not designed for constant current. And so you'll often see, particularly when you start Googling and searching for this, you'll see pictures of those that have just burnt out or in some cases have actually caught fire. And so there's recommendations to use higher end ones. And I think I mentioned last week, there's a great YouTube resource channel called State of Charge with Tom Malogany. Check him out. He has done a few charger rescues where he's gone to those that have literally melted or caught fire and been put out quickly, fortunately. He also explains them very well why, talks about them. And the other thing to do is if you start looking to shop for a charger, you might want to think about one of the known name brands, because some of these with weird sounding names, while it might say it's safety certified, the odds are it probably isn't. And the last thing you need to do is sort of wake up to your smoke detectors going off and alarms going, and you finish the night by calling your boss at work saying, "The fire department have just left my house." It's not really a good place to be when you think about it, is it? You don't want to be doing that. So think long and hard, which is why I recommend those YouTube resources. And this particular one, I mentioned it last week, State of Charge by Tom Malogany. He's done a lot of research. He actually tests these chargers out, not just charging them for a long time. He freezes them. I see how the cables work in frozen environments. Then he sticks heat on them to see how they cope with direct heat. There are places that put their chargers outside in very hot environments, like Phoenix, I'm thinking of. They get to 107, 110 degrees Fahrenheit and just bake in the sun all day long. He tests all of that for you. And you can watch his videos. They're incredibly detailed, well worth it, and just ultimately pick a safe charger. Chances are you'll be charging at night, and the last thing you need to be doing is, setting up a grill or flambeing your nice new electric vehicle in your garage. Well worth checking that out. Talking of channels, there is another channel that is well worth following. Very geeky, can get very technical, but it's run by a guy called Walter. He's very passionate, and it's called the Network Architect channel. And he usually has a weekly update of charger editions by the different companies, Tesla, ChargePoint, EVgo, Electrify America. And he tells you where they are. He shows the lists of where they are in the country. So I usually watch it on a Friday, see if there's any additionals in Georgia and stuff like that. Because often he'll have the information there before PlugShare will show it. That's not always up to date. Well worth. And then he'll visit other chargers, or he'll get, people that follow his channel to film some video of these new charging stops. You get a feel for them. And you can definitely see that charging has improved dramatically in the last year. When I first got my EV, June 24, Asheville and Columbia, South Carolina, really only had one fast charger on the way without, doing a diversion or a detour. Now there are a lot more. And my Asheville trip in the summer, I could go through the mountains of North Georgia, North Carolina to Asheville with no problem at all because there was a Rivian charger on the way. I then discovered, and this is where range anxiety comes in, I could have actually made it all the way to Asheville on a full charge and still have plenty to get there and find a charger in Asheville. These are the things that you don't think about at the time. It takes you a while to get more confident because when it comes to gas, there's gas stations everywhere. Small villages have got them, small towns. You're not really going to run out unless you do something stupid. Electric vehicles, you've got to get used to how the vehicle feels, because the faster you go, if you're thundering down the interstate at 80 miles an hour, you're going to burn more kilowatts than you are considerably than chugging along at 70. 70 is not chugging along in truth, particularly as you get older. 70 you appreciate. You're going to get there not much slower than somebody barreling along at 80. Plus, you've got less chance of getting a speeding ticket. But check him out, the Network Architect channel on YouTube. He presents it in, I think, quite a nice way. And he's got a nice bit of a dry wit sense of humour. So that's worth following. So that's it for this week's podcast, episode 2. We will get better. We'd love to hear from you. Of course, rick@evboomer.com, or just visit the website evboomer.com to find out. And ultimately, as we get rolling and get going, we'll do better things. We'll talk about other stuff. I've got some great topics lined up to talk about over the weeks. We'll try and get a few guests on as well and goose this podcast. But this is episode 2. It's early days. And I will probably in a year's time look back at this and go, oh, did he really talk about wearing diapers when driving along? Well, I guess I did, but no, I'm not going to wear them. So, until next week, have a great week driving.